Well, thanks for being a part of the program. Well, the eyes have it. You ever feel like you're being watched, that someone is listening in on your phone calls, that your privacy is being invaded? Well, it happens to people all the time and for a variety of reasons. And yes, it is legal. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act was passed many years ago to try and strike a balance between national security interest and your personal privacy rights. I have a copy of that act right here. It is quite lengthy and has all sorts of details in it. But Hollywood showed us that high-tech surveillance can be a very tricky and a highly invasive business.
Okay, satellite imagery coming through.
Roger that. Patch visual, my location. Confirm visual. Thank you much. Air 1 there. All units, target heading north on rooftop. Colombian 18th requests immediate visual support. Over.
Roger that. We have visual.
Everybody move. He just jumped to the adjacent building. All units, he is entering.
Satellites and the like. That clip is from the movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith. It shows a man being targeted by the National Security Agency. He ended up dead in the film. He was hit by a truck. Of course, the real NSA had nothing to do with that part. But President Bush says that foreign surveillance is an important tool in the war on terror, and he just signed a law to strengthen the government's electronic surveillance powers. Are you comfortable with that? Here's some of the details of it. When it comes to electronic surveillance, such as wiretapping, the government could always listen in on our conversations as long as they had a warrant to do it. But now that's changing. The new law allows wiretapping of conversations without a warrant if that conversation is with a person in a foreign country and if that person is a target of an investigation. But if the person being targeted is in the U.S., well, then the NSA must still obtain a warrant in order to conduct surveillance on them. It's a little bit complicated, I know. Arthur Holnick is very knowledgeable about all of this, though, about wiretapping. He spent 30 years in the CIA, and he's joining me now from our Boston studios. Mr. Holnick, thanks for being a part of the program.
You're welcome.
When it comes to the government, do they watch what we do and monitor what we do more than we realize?
No, that's not at all the case. In fact, the National Security Agency intercepts about 2 million or so messages every hour, 24 million in a day, maybe more than that. What they're doing is scanning all of this to see if there's something interesting to look at. But you can just imagine the difficulty in trying to pick that out of all of this data.
I would say millions of transmissions a day. How do they select, who they select in these cases? I mean, is it someone who's under an investigation, or is this just at random?
No, it's not random at all. It uses a technique called data mining to look for keywords to see if someone is talking about an issue of interest, some kind of terrorist plot or something of that nature. And if, in fact, that is the case, then they can zero in, and then they need to go get a warrant if an American person, a U.S. citizen or a resident alien is involved. So
first, the first process is they would get a ping on someone who appears to have been doing something that's illegal or a code word, as you say. Would that also apply to their internet activity?
I'm not sure about that. The purpose of this new update to FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, is to take account of new technologies. So while I haven't seen the details of it, I assume that some of that must be in there.
The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and I've been reading over this, I would imagine that this is a key document when it comes to work within the CIA and with all government surveillance act. Isn't that correct?
Actually, the CIA has nothing to do with this at all. This is all electronic surveillance done by the National Security Agency.
And break down the various parts for me then, where it relates to the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA. Is there any competition involved in that?
Not really. The problem is more trying to foster cooperation rather than competition. But basically the way it works is that the NSA is looking for electronic signals. The CIA is involved in human intelligence, that is to say, running spies. And the FBI is a law enforcement organization. The FBI's job is to follow through on something when an item of suspicion might be discovered.
As a person who's been on the inside of this for a very long time, and now you're in the educational realm where you try and bring clarity to many in these regards, can you tell us just how important it really is that this type of surveillance work be conducted?
I think everybody would agree that if we can find signals that some kind of terrorist act is ongoing or underway or being plotted or planned, that it would be good to be able to disrupt it before somebody gets hurt. And so I think that giving the intelligence system these tools is very important. It's very difficult to understand what a small terrorist cell might be doing. So every help that we can get in terms of doing this is very important.
But do you also understand the concern by many that this is a major infringement on their civil liberties, that their phone conversations are being monitored?
Well, I don't think it is. The fact is that the chances of an American conversation being intercepted is very small. After all, NSA has got to go through all of this stuff to find it. And it's quite amazing to me that they are able to do this. Many of this material is in a foreign language or in some kind of code. They're really very good at this, but it takes an awful lot of work. But I don't think Americans need to be fearful that the government is watching them. What the government is trying to watch are the terrorists.
Right, the government's trying to watch terrorists, and I think we all want that. Again, it's very complicated, and these reports are just loaded and loaded with papers and papers and papers, and it's a lot of reading. And again, best we could do is try to get someone on like yourself who could try and break it down to us and make us feel a little bit more at ease about it all.
The fear is that somehow this system will be abused. And the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court still remains in existence. And so if there is a problem, then the court has the last say on how it will be adjudicated.
Sure. Arthur Holnick, thank you very much for sharing your insight on this matter for us and bringing some clarity, as we say. We appreciate your impact on this. Thank you very much. Okay. What do you think about it? Does domestic surveillance take away from American civil liberties? Or, as you just heard in the report there, does it also help to keep you safe from harm? Email me your thoughts on this, cn8.tv. Click on the icon for Art Fennell Reports.